A somber atmosphere in mainland China. Nobody dares to laugh at political jokes. High-ranking official in prison asserts local debt will be the downfall of the CCP. The CCP is out of money. This year's June 4th stabilization measures differ from previous years. Less than 3 years after opening, Chongqing tunnel leaks water like a water curtain cave. Sudden deaths increase. Mainland Chinese find ways to seek refuge. To silence overseas students, the CCP intimidates their families in China. It's all covered in today's China Truths. A somber atmosphere in mainland China. Nobody dares to laugh at political jokes. 1 year after the CCP revised the anti-espionage law, a somber environment crafted by the officials has emerged. According to a report by Central News Agency on May 26, in late April, outside a building in Pudong, Shanghai, 2 residents shared their home buying experiences with the media. However, as the conversation was concluding, one of them mentioned national security and expressed the need for caution regarding the discussion. Another lady involved in the conversation agreed, noting that there indeed seemed to be many spies, as seen from numerous reports in the news. The reporter suspected that his Taiwanese identity might have suddenly cast a shadow of national security over the conversation. The report noted that more and more people are becoming cautious due to fears of violating the anti-espionage law. A longtime friend from Shanghai warned to be more prudent in speech. After all, reporting a spy could earn you 500,000 yuan, about $70,000. According to this friend, during a meal with young colleagues, he made a political joke that no one laughed at, and the atmosphere was quite serious. The Standing Committee of the National People's Congress of the CCP passed the newly revised anti-espionage law on April 26 last year, which went into effect on July 1 of the same year. In addition to revising the anti-espionage law, the revised law on guarding state secrets also began implementation in China starting May 1 this year. Moreover, the CCP's Ministry of State Security announced 2 law enforcement regulations in late April, granting national security personnel expanded powers to inspect individuals' electronic devices arbitrarily. Despite the oppressive environment created by the officials, recent reports revealed that from CCP official gatherings to the public, people are finding ways to denounce CCP leader Xi Jinping. On January 25, Taiwan media Shangbao published an article by Du Xing, revealing that now, from the CCP officialdom dinner to the public, everyone is privately cursing that pig or that person, referring to Xi. A retired CCP cadre said, when that person, Xi, first came into power, people had some hope for him, but now no one speaks well of him, everyone curses him, and people are hoping for the downfall of the Communist Party. On January 27, Chinese scholar Li Hengqing told the Epoch Times that he had heard about this dinner joke. He believes it reflects the sentiment of the people, indicating a significant change in the mood of both officials and the public. On May 25, an individual familiar with the military situation in mainland China, Tian Ming, pseudonym, disclosed to the Epoch Times that the military seems very dissatisfied with Xi. These past few days, heavy rains in Hebei led to a saying in the military, floods drown Zhongnanhai, beat up Xi Jinping. Commentator Wei Pu previously mentioned that Xi Jinping had dismissed more than 20 National People's Congress delegates, nearly half of whom were military personnel, indicating many signs of dissatisfaction with Xi within the military. High-ranking official in prison asserts local debt will be the downfall of the CCP. On May 25, Du Wen, the former executive director of the Legal Advisory Office of the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region who has fled overseas, wrote on Platform X that the Chinese economy is experiencing an unprecedented crisis, particularly highlighted by the issue of local debt. Du Wen was imprisoned for being implicated in a public funds bribery case involving the Inner Mongolian government, held in Ho Hot No. 3 prison. He disclosed that in prison, he had discussions with a group of fallen municipal party secretaries and mayors about the potential breaking point for the collapse of the CCP. One of the inmates, who had served as the director of the Finance Bureau for 15 years and as deputy mayor for 5 years, said, "In my view, what will definitely crush the Communist Party in the future is local debt." The fallen deputy mayor explained, "In our area, there are no major enterprises, hence no stable sources of tax revenue. I served as deputy mayor for 5 years, and I was often invited to ribbon-cutting ceremonies for businesses. The largest business was a plywood factory with an investment of just 5 million. Can you imagine how dull that is? Yet, the leaders insist on pushing for rapid development and undertaking massive infrastructure projects requiring billions of yuan. We borrow money, complete projects, and boost the local GDP, but with what do we repay the loans? Our finances are just for basic expenses, even our salaries depend on transfer payments. We have started borrowing new loans to pay off the interest, which compounds like a snowball. How long can this last?" Duan asked him, "Why would banks lend without collateral? And don't you consider how you'll repay the debt when borrowing?" He replied, "Collateral? What collateral? Why would banks lend without collateral? Everyone lends based on faith in the Communist Party. Besides, with the current strict crackdown, which bank manager would dare not lend to the local government? As for repayment, I've raised it before, you can't just think about borrowing without planning to repay. But the leaders say, why bother? If we can't repay, so be it. At least it won't be our problem during our tenure. The government's failure to pay won't come out of our pockets anyway. Let it collapse when it collapses." From what I know, this is the case not just in one place, but across the whole region, the entire country. By then, the renminbi will be worthless compared to gold certificates, and it would be odd if the Communist Party doesn't collapse. Duan stated, "Don't underestimate the corrupt, they are the ones who truly understand the Communist Party." Previously, the crisis concerning China's local debt has been continuously exposed by mainland insiders. In a recent online lecture, renowned scholar Wen Taijun explained the accumulation of severe debt crises among local CCP governments. He described a pattern where leaders pursuing high growth leave behind significant debts, which their successors inherit. These new officials often resort to acquiring and mortgaging land to unlock 70% of its value, using this to manage the previous term's debts without repaying them, thus continuing the cycle without exposing the true financial instability. Banks cooperate with this system to keep their books balanced, allowing non-performing or overdue loans to remain unexposed. This process has resulted in an official government debt between 50 trillion to 60 trillion yuan, about $8.4 trillion, a significant portion of China's GDP. As of the end of 2023, the official public balance of local government debt disclosed by the CCP has exceeded 40 trillion yuan, about $5.6 trillion USD. This only accounts for the explicit debt, the balance of implicit debt is even larger. The International Monetary Fund and Wall Street investment banks estimate that the total amount of undisclosed local government debt in China is between $7 trillion and $11 trillion. The CCP is out of money. This year's June 4th stabilization measures differ from previous years. With the 35th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre, or June 4th incident, approaching, Beijing authorities have already begun taking stabilization measures. According to Radio Free Asia, someone is already stationed outside the home of Zhang Xianling, one of the initiators of the Tiananmen Mothers, and human rights activists associated with June 4th are being sent on forced vacations. However, due to China's poor economic situation and the government's lack of funds, this year's stabilization efforts for the June 4th incident differ from previous years. Ji Feng, a student leader in Guizhou at that time, mentioned that he has been arranged to stay away from home, but his movements are limited to his hometown area, unlike before when he could travel across the country. He estimates this change is due to government financial constraints. A human rights activist in Beijing also stated that although this year marks the 35th anniversary of June 4th, the economic situation has deteriorated and the authorities have reduced the budget for stabilization measures. Human rights activists in other regions are not being organized into large-scale forced vacations as in the past. It is estimated that the stabilization expenditures are mainly concentrated in Beijing. He described the current level of stabilization in Beijing as tense. Those on the so-called sensitive list find it inconvenient even to dine out, and meeting in small groups of 3 or 4 is also not possible. Less than 3 years after opening, Chongqing Tunnel leaks water like a water curtain cave. The Tuzhou Tunnel in Chongqing, which was completed and opened less than 3 years ago, has recently experienced serious water seepage. On the morning of May 26, local time, severe water seepage occurred inside the Tuzhou Tunnel in Chongqing, resembling the scene of a water curtain cave. Videos posted by Chinese netizens show that at the site of the leakage, parts of the tunnel ceiling had fallen off, revealing 2 cracks from which a large amount of muddy water was spraying out, resulting in significant water accumulation on the road. Traffic warning cones had been placed around the affected area. According to Jimu News, a local media outlet, this Tuzhou Tunnel is a one-way, 3-lane tunnel with a design speed of 80 km per hour, serving as an important passage for westward external traffic from the Liangjiangnu area. It officially opened on September 29, 2021, less than 3 years ago. In response to inquiries from the media, a staff member from the Emergency Management Bureau of Shapingba District in Chongqing stated that experts were currently assessing the situation on site, which is quite complex. So far, there have been no reports of injuries, and specific information will be released by the publicity department. In response to related media news, Chinese netizens have been actively commenting. Many directly labeled this as a shameful project and demanded severe punishment for those responsible or called for a thorough investigation into corruption behind the project. Sudden deaths increase, mainland Chinese find ways to seek refuge. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to spread in China, the CCP conceals and fails to report it. In late May, people from various regions told the Epoch Times that the phenomena of chronic illness and sudden deaths have significantly increased in their areas. Mr. Yan from Harbin, Heilongjiang, said, "I had a fever and cold a few days ago, and visiting the hospital didn't help. Over the past 2 years, many people around me have died. I think it's still the pandemic, likely due to COVID-19 infections. Our area is sparsely populated, and it's common for people to die. I knew about 20 who died, and in the last 2 years, almost 40 or 50 have died, mostly people in their 50s. Mr. Yan revealed that in places like Harbin and Puyang, new graves have become a common sight, with some opting for secret burials due to high cremation costs and an overwhelmed government system. In Qiqihar, people are dying unexpectedly, often suddenly collapsing in public spaces or at home, a pattern that has caused widespread alarm. Residents note a significant change since the pandemic, with previously healthy individuals in their middle ages dying without apparent cause, indicating a potential link to vaccination side effects. Hospitals and funeral homes are reportedly overwhelmed, handling an increasing number of cases daily. This surge in deaths has led to heightened precautions among the public, with many attributing their continued health issues to the vaccines. Despite these concerns, fear of retribution keeps many from speaking out. Many deaths from infection have occurred all over mainland China. However, some people have also mentioned that they have effective methods to avoid the epidemic and disasters, keeping their families safe. Ms. Huang from Sichuan said that many people around her who died were those who believed the CCP's lies. "I woke up during the Wuhan lockdown, and during waves of the pandemic outbreak, her family declared their withdrawal from the CCP organizations on the Epoch Times website and often silently recited the 9-character mantra, safely avoiding the plague." Ms. Huang said, "Just reciting Falun Dafa is good, truthfulness, compassion, forbearance is good, got us through this disaster. I even organized several groups to spread this truth, and under our promotion, more and more people woke up." A citizen from Xi'an also withdrew from the CCP organizations during the pandemic and recited the 9-character mantra taught by Falun Gong practitioners every day: staying safe. I haven't had a cold or fever for many years. I often recite Falun Dafa is good, truthfulness, compassion, forbearance is good. I have never been positive. I had a stroke in 2019 and recovered from it. Mr. Liu from Anhui stated that his whole family declared their withdrawal from the party and the Youth League on the Epoch Times website, often silently reciting the 9-character mantra, Falun Dafa is good, truthfulness, compassion, forbearance is good, and have been safe for over 3 years of the pandemic. Mr. Gao from Beijing disclosed, I know Falun Dafa is good, truthfulness, compassion, forbearance is good is the true mantra. Just after the new year this year, I had a stroke, went to the hospital for intravenous fluids. I just recited those 9 words. The people next to me were very surprised to see me. I didn't mind them. I just recited my mantra. I was in the hospital for 4 days, then I got better and walked home myself. He said, during the pandemic lockdown, whenever I go out, I just recite in my mouth Falun Dafa is good, truthfulness, compassion, forbearance is good. Falun Dafa is good, truthfulness, compassion, forbearance is good, I'm not afraid. My family also recites the 9-character mantra every day, and they are all very safe, never infected with COVID. Falun Dafa's Minghui website has reported many similar cases. Many mainland people sincerely recite the 9-character mantra, either never infected or quickly recovering from infection. To silence overseas students, the CCP intimidates their families in China. A report released by Amnesty International in May states that Chinese students in North America and Europe are monitored at protest sites and online. Their families in China are targeted and intimidated by the police. According to Voice of America on May 26, Ting Zihuan, who had just graduated from a university in the United States, went to the Texas state capitol in Austin on June 4 last year to explain the Tiananmen Square incident to passers-by. That day, he noticed some Chinese-looking people staring at him intently and taking his photo. Ting Zihuan said he held the belief that he was merely telling the truth and had done nothing wrong. He didn't wear a mask or disguise and didn't mind those people's actions. A week later, Ting Zihuan's Weibo and TikTok accounts were suddenly permanently banned, despite him not having posted any sensitive content previously. Ting Zihuan's parents, who are entrepreneurs in Jiangsu, China, received a call from the police station, telling them there was an urgent matter and they must come to the station immediately. At the police station, 3 officers surrounded his parents and checked their phones. The police looked at Ting Zihuan's social circle on his father's phone, then questioned and took statements from them. The police told them, your son has been misled by overseas organizations and participated in anti-China activities in the U.S., reported by patriotic students. Ting Zihuan was shocked to find out that his parents in China were targeted and placed under surveillance because of his activities abroad, despite him being a regular student and not an activist. During a police inquiry, his mother was warned that if Ting continued his anti-China activities overseas, there would be repercussions for her as well. Sarah Brooks, director of Amnesty International's China division, told Voice of America that these students are generally low profile and not newsworthy. They might have simply spontaneously participated in a Tiananmen Square memorial event or posted support for the white paper movement. Brooks said the Chinese government pressures students' parents to persuade their children to stop participating in any form of rights advocacy activities, or else the parents might face threats to their freedom of movement, including being prohibited from leaving China to visit their children, as well as potential workplace difficulties and the risk of losing their pensions. Zhou Fengsuo, executive director of human rights in China, told Voice of America that Chinese people in the U.S. openly participating in democratic events like the Tiananmen Square Memorial are very few, as most are silenced by CCP surveillance and manufactured fear. He said the CCP creates panic through restrictions on returning to China and harassing family members. Most of the time, if more people ignored this, it wouldn't matter. He believes that overseas Chinese need to overcome this fear and stand up more. Ting Zihuan observed that while CCP authorities intimidated his parents in China, they were cautious about taking direct action against him in the US, where he felt safer speaking openly about China. This environment emboldened him, and the incident reinforced his commitment to truth-telling as he became more determined to resist the CCP's fear tactics. Brooks from Amnesty International believes that the threats and harm the CCP poses to students are largely psychological. Students undergo self-censorship, fearing that others might learn of their participation in human rights discussions, thus living in anxiety and fear, which severely affects their mental health. The Chinese government should stop this harassment and allow these students to study freely and fearlessly. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.